There are two standard measurements of angles, degrees and radians. An angle of degree measure 1 is formed by rotating the initial side of your ray by 1 divided by 360 of a complete revolution. In a very similar matter, radians is measured in terms of arc length of a circle. Let's look at the definition of a radian. If a circle of radius 1 is drawn with the vertex of an angle at its center, then the measure of this angle in radians is the length of the arc that subtends the angle. Let me note that the circumference of a circle of radius 1 is 2 pi, and a complete revolution has a measure of 2 pi. The most common measures of radians then is going to be 2 pi divided by some number. Now we will see pictures of the most standard angles in terms of radians. Pi divided by 2, pi, 3 pi divided by 2, and 2 pi. In this first picture, we have an example of pi divided by 2, where, again, radians is the circumference of a circle of radius 1 that has been divided by 4. This piece of the circumference has been highlighted in blue. In part B, we'll be looking at an angle of pi, this time the circumference of the circle is going to be half of the circle. In the third picture, we'll be looking at the angle 3 pi divided by 2, which is going to be 3/4 the circumference of the circle. And then, in the last part, we'll be looking at the angle given by 2 pi radians. And this angle is represented by the complete length of the circumference of our circle. Now let's go ahead and look at the relationship between degrees and radians. What we have is that 180 degrees is going to be equal to pi radians. Equivalently, we can say that 180 degrees divided by pi is going to be equal to 1 radian. Or that 1 degree is going to be equal to pi divided by 180 degrees. Throughout the rest of this section, if no unit is specified, we're going to assume that that unit is radians then. Now, given an angle in degrees, we can always convert this to radians. To do this, we multiply our angle given by degrees by the number pi divided by 180. To go from radians to degrees, we're going to multiply by 180 degrees divided by pi. Let's go ahead and compute a few examples. Example number 1. Let's do 3 different parts. In part A, we'll express 60 degrees in radians. In part B, we'll express 30 degrees in radians. Then, in part C, we'll express pi divided by 4 radians in degrees. In part A, given our angle is 60 degrees, we want to multiply this by pi divided by 180 degrees to cancel out the degree measure. This leaves us with pi divided by 3 rads. In part B, again we're given an angle 30 degrees. We multiply it by pi divided by 180 degrees. This 180 degrees cancels out the degree measure. Again, we're left with radians, and that this is equal to pi divided by 6. In part C, we're given pi divided by 4 in radians. We want to multiply this by 180 degrees divided by pi. The radians cancel out, and we're left with 45 degrees.